All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis, military expert and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Welcome to Fineprint, Colonel Davis.
Always glad to be here. Thank you.
Likewise. Colonel Davis, a big statement coming out of the United States of America. U.S. says that it will move on from Ukraine if they see no progress. It says that Washington will abandon the Ukraine truce talks. Your assessment of that?
Yeah, listen, this has been a long time in coming. I don't think anybody should be surprised by that. I mean, obviously, the thing started getting sideways when that infamous meeting in the Oval Office where Zelensky got into an argument on camera with the president and the vice president. They kind of got on rocky soil, but maybe they were improving after that, but then they continued not to. Last Sunday, you had on 60 Minutes in the United States, Zelensky went on camera and basically threw both the president and the vice president under the bus again, saying that they were being disinformation campaign. They were being subject to that by the Russians, that Witkoff, he specifically said, Zelensky again a couple of days later, is not qualified to even be talking on these things, etc., even though he's bringing the president's message of what he's trying to get done. So you see this continuing divergence of the view between the United States and the Ukraine side. And if the president of the United States believes that there is no longer the possibility to close that gap, then it is counterproductive and frankly foolish to keep trying to find a peace if your objectives are so far off the map from each other. And I think that Trump is to the point to where he's ready to say, listen, this is my position right here. If you can't get onto it, then you guys are on your own. And listen, I think that's the only thing that makes sense, because if Zelensky won't come to that, then where is the possibility for having a unified Western side to negotiate with Russia? It's just not there.
Right, Colonel Davis, you speak of continuing divergence between Kiev and Washington, D.C. If U.S. does abandon the Ukraine peace talks, what kind of repercussions will this have on the battlefield? And also talk to us more about the current battlefield situation as well, where we are witnessing Russia raining missiles and Ukraine also launching drone strikes inside Russian territory.
Yeah, this represents one of the biggest, I think, fallacies on the Western side. There is still, and I've seen reaction to this comment by Rubio since it's happened, there is still this belief that if only we give more stuff to the Ukraine side, that if only we support them to some level, that somehow that can change the dynamics on the battlefield. And I'm just telling you categorically, militarily, there is no switching this. It is decisively and irrevocably on the Russian side. And the longer that the Ukrainians and the Western Europeans keep thinking that that's a possibility, then the longer they're going to stay away from reaching the end that President Trump is trying to get to. And you see this all along the line. Ukraine is running out of men. They don't have enough men to even force mobilize to offset their losses, meaning they continue to shrink by the week. The Russian side continues to grow. The ammunition production, the industrial capacity, just off the charts in Russia's favor. It makes no sense to keep trying to fight a war that can't be won. But that's what the Ukraine and the European side are doing. And until they recognize that that incontrovertible fact is the case, then they're never going to reach to a conclusion. And that means that Russia, as you point out, on the front line, the entire 2,000 kilometers of it, continues to press ahead without any change. And if the Western side doesn't reach some kind of negotiated settlement, then Russia is likely going to win by force of arms, maybe this summer, maybe at the end of the year, who knows? But eventually, they'll just ground down the Ukraine side and take what they want by force.
Right, Colonel Davis, we did speak of the kind of repercussions that Ukraine will face. We did see positive messages from Washington and Moscow after the talks between them. And the latest coming in is also Russia's foreign ministry claiming that communications between Russia and the U.S. have helped make Washington more aware of Moscow's arguments. But what changed? Do you think that in Paris, the goalposts are changing?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a consistent view between the United States and Russia. We both recognize the reality on the ground that I just described. And so that's why you had Steve Witkoff on Monday night on Fox News here in the U.S., where he said that we're getting closer, maybe on the verge of having an agreement with the Russian side recognizing that these 5 territories are all going to go to the Russian side. That's just the reality on the ground. It's not something that the U.S. is, quote, giving away. The Russians have basically already either taken most of or have the capacity to take all of those territories. And if they don't get it through negotiations peacefully, then they'll take it by force. That's the reality. So that hasn't changed any. What has changed is that the Ukraine side is unwilling to acknowledge that and still wants a different outcome that the American side is just not going to support.
Right, Colonel Davis, thanks very much for joining us in Fineprint and sharing your insights with us.
Always my pleasure.